Welcome to Solihull Radio. It's me, Nick Whitehouse, and this is the 25 and 25 update with Specsavers' very own Brad Parkes. How are you today, Brad?
Hi, Nick. Yeah, very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good. It's been a good day recording stuff for our podcast, and thank you very much, everyone who's tuning into our podcast today, all about 25 and 25. If you aren't aware of what it actually is, Brad is going to do a whistle-stop tour of what he's been up to this year.
Thanks. So the 25 and 25 campaign, Solihull Specsavers are celebrating their 25th anniversary this year, and so we thought it would be really good to do something special to not only to support the community, but also say thank you to the community that have supported us for all these years. And so we dreamt up this idea of supporting 25 charities during our 25th anniversary and calling it the 25 in 25 campaign. And things have gone ballistic in no uncertain terms, and in no small part thanks to you personally and Solihull Radio, and that post that went out on social media that we still refer to as that post, that generated, at the time we'd got 17, 18 causes on our list that had come across our radar that we wanted to support, and we were just looking for another 7, 8 to come forward, and from that post we ended up with a further 65 causes put forward that we've now had to investigate. That sounds awful, doesn't it? But to look into, make sure that they were all very legitimate, that they were ticking the right kind of boxes, etc. And from those 65 we've been able to whittle down, and in fact we're probably using more than the 7 or 8 for a number of different reasons. Some that were causes that had already come across our radar anyway, and some that we've been able to tweak around and work with in other ways. We've also formed not only a partnership with Solihull Radio, but we've also formed a partnership with Solihull Roundtable, who heard about what we were doing, and they do a huge amount of work in the area with Father Christmas, and in particular in November the fireworks display in Solihull Tudor Grange Park, and they have earmarked £2,500. So again, that 25 little piece is a good link, and they've earmarked that money, and what we're working towards is finding a further, out of that list, 25 causes that will get £100 each, but they will also get some exposure both through the radio, but also So let me go back to the start, if you like, and what the campaign's about. So somebody comes in for a paid-for eye examination. Yeah. Normal price for an eye examination is £25, and we've said that we will donate 25p, which doesn't sound a huge amount, but 25p from last week, for instance, we did 425 eye examinations. So the numbers soon wrap up, and basically, following a sight test, a bit like when you go to the supermarket, you get given a token and you can donate that 25p to one of 2 charities, cause A or cause B. The great thing for the organisations, the causes, the charities is they're getting exposure to every single person who's having a sight test. It's not just a case of only the one that is being voted for, it's not only the one that that person is donating to, they're getting exposure to both. Which is great in itself. And then we took that whole idea forward. We have what's called a trade display space that we pay a licence fee to Solihull Council for, and we've cleared things with them to say that during the year, each month, the causes are given the opportunity to get out onto the high street to utilise that space and to then gain access to not just the hundreds of people coming through our doors, but walking up and down the high street, attending the jazz festival, attending the farmers markets, just regularly kind of coming out for a coffee in the week, shopping at the weekend, whatever it be that they're coming in the town to do. Those causes are getting exposure, they're getting the opportunity to recruit new members, to get volunteers, fundraise, promote, organise events, concerts and such like. So there's a huge amount going on, and the bottom line is for a lot of these organisations, it isn't just about the money, it's also about the exposure. And
that's hard because you need a big PR budget, you need to be able to push it out there, and getting the exposure is tough.
And like us, a lot of these organisations, we've deliberately chosen organisations that have links with Solihull. Specsavers is a franchise organisation. We refer to it as the F word within Specsavers. We want the public to recognise that we are a global brand. We are a corporate entity. So if you have a problem with your glasses, you can put in your Specsavers customer in Solihull, and you're on holiday in Weymouth, you can pop into the Specsavers there and be treated as though you're their customer, exactly what you'd expect from a global brand. But we are franchises. And so therefore we're really interested in what happens in Solihull and Shirley, because both those two stores are owned by myself and my brother, who also happens to be an optician. We've both been in the business for the 25 years since we opened in Solihull, and Shirley we opened 10 years ago. And so we're really interested in not only investing the money back, but also supporting local causes.
So it's actually a local business, isn't it, on the high street?
Yeah, and I often talk about it as being a global brand, but with a local feel. And that's kind of what you get really with most franchise organisations. So, yeah, Spencer and I live in Solihull. My brother lives just outside, and we've been here for many years now, and a few too many. In fact, I was working out the other day that I've not quite yet spent half my working life. Nearly spent half my whole life working at Specsavers in Solihull. So yes, it's. Solihull is dear to our hearts, and to support local causes is crucial to us. So all of the causes that we've chosen are either related or Solihull related, and wherever possible we've tried to make sure that the money's kind of coming back locally as well, and the exposure is coming back locally. So for instance, when we supported guide dogs, we insisted and had conversations with them to insist that the money that was raised in Solihull went back to the Solihull branch of guide dogs. Yeah. So the money's getting kind of reinvested back into the area.
So how have you been? I mean, I haven't chatted to you on the radio for maybe a couple of months now. How's things been?
Well, what a summer have we had? Heat wave, longest heat wave is it since 1976.
There's been a World Cup.
There's been a World Cup. A huge amount of activity on the high street during the World Cup, and we had two brilliant charities during July, I have to say, that did a lot of the high street. Took full advantage of the high street opportunity. We had face painting going on. We had things being sold. We had a blood bike out on the high street there for 3-4 days during the course of the month. We had buddy bags that were out there doing their thing, doing a lollipop. Of course, we talk about the World Cup. We kind of almost forgot that Wimbledon came and went in that time as well. And during the Wimbledon fortnight, because it was so hot, they were handing out glasses of squash, Robinson squash, and tying in with the whole Wimbledon thing. So they really got on board with the whole thing. England was fantastic, wasn't it? The football and that whole feel-good factor, and going further than anyone ever thought that they would. And of course, I'm sitting here in my waistcoat. Yeah, I was doing the Southgate waistcoat thing.
He looked at you and thought, I need to sport a bit of a waistcoat. So you did a waistcoat Wednesday.
Well, I've done a waistcoat kind of 25 years.
Okay, fair enough. So, I mean, how's things generally in Specsavers? Because there's been some bleak pictures painted about retail at the moment. I mean, how's it going for you guys? Yeah,
it's almost every week there seems to be a retail bad story, doesn't it? And yet retail, I think, is really fighting back, and there's a real good feel-good factor on the high street. I heard on the radio this morning, sorry, not on this radio, or it might have been on the TV actually. Can I dig myself out that hole quick enough?
Yeah.
The latest news is that things aren't as bad in retail as they have previously been painted, and I think most retailers have been thinking that. Yes, there have been a few casualties, and some fairly high-level casualties, but there's also an awful lot of good, strong retailing going on out on our high streets that the public still love, and we've featured and really factored on service, and I think that's one thing that is going to come from this kind of retail recession, if you want a better expression, is organisations that are surviving through this and getting better and getting stronger and will come out fighting, will be those that have really factored on and focused on their service. Because let's face it, if you go into a shop, into a retail, and you're going to get poor service, then you might as well just go online and buy. If you, however, are going in and you're getting a fantastic service, we talk about celebrity service. So we're looking to treat our customers as celebrities and treating them as special people, because at the end of the day, we all are very aware that it's the customers, it's you guys who are paying our salaries. And if we treat you like rubbish, then we don't deserve to be paid. So we go out of our way to treat you with respect, to treat you like the person who's paying the salaries. It's not the owners of the business, it's not the corporate body, it's the customers that are coming through the door. And I think that will duplicate itself across the new style of retailing. That will mean that, for instance, everybody said that Amazon was going to take over the book sales, and Waterstones is one of the success stories. And yes, they sell online, but actually their high street presence is still out there. It's still growing, and it's because they offer great service.
I guess for you guys, you want to nurture a lifelong relationship with the client or the customer, because you would like, through that experience, they will feel comfortable coming to you again and again and again as they get their prescription changes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a relationship thing. We're under no illusion that we're not the kind of organisation that hits the customer hard on first occasion, and try and get whatever you can. We have a very stable team. We're not in it for the team are not in it for short-term gains. Hit a target, get a bonus, and move on to another job. We are looking long-term relationship. Spencer and I have been in Solihull and in Shirley for up to 25 years. Our store manager, I was talking to her just the other day actually, and she was saying, she's been with us now for 22 years. We've got another manager who's just come through her 20th anniversary with us as an organisation and as a store. Our other manager has been within Specsavers and within Optics for in excess of 20 years as well. So the relationship thing is absolutely crucial. And we will often see customers, patients perhaps every couple of years, something like that, for an eye examination. That's the norm. But the buying cycle might stretch to 3 or 4 years. And so if we don't get the relationship bit right, they won't come back. It's a long time to remember what was the service like. So that's why we've been really focusing in on that over the last few years, really, knowing that's what is going to carry us forward. And thankfully, we've got a great team. They're really passionate about the job, which is making sure people look great in their glasses, can see great through their glasses. We know that what we're doing is we're not just selling a product, we're giving people the sense of sight. You say to most people, what's of your 5 senses, which is the one you'd least want to lose? Most people say sight. And we are giving the gift of sight. Somebody who's not been able to see that clearly for a period of time. And just very quickly, last week we had a bunch of youngsters come to collect some glasses. The previous week we tested 13 youngsters from Chernobyl, from the following on from the disaster back in the 80s. All 13 this year through the Solihull Chernobyl Children's Project. Get the words right, the right way around. This year, all 13 are in remission of some sort or another, all very serious conditions. But you look at them and they're having a great time, and they're really happy people, and their lives have been really knocked sideways. And one of the young lads, bearing in mind they're all 13 to 15-year-olds this time, and he's putting on what we were working out was his first pair of glasses, and he was being able to see clearly for the first time in however long.
It's a different world, I guess.
And there was not a dry eye in the house. There was the interpreters there, there were the host families there were all of the other kids from Chernobyl there, and they're all kind of tears rolling down their faces. Our staff are kind of realising, this is what we do it for. And you've got members of the public who are kind of walking over and kind of in tears as well, and kind of hearing and seeing the reaction and asking, how can we make a donation, what can we do, how and for them, so there's some good exposure there for the project as well. So that for us, it's not about selling glasses, testing eyes and fitting contact lenses. That's obviously 99% of what we do, but the 1% that makes things really different for us is that we're doing so much more, and the 25 in 25 kind of supports all of that.
I guess some may do, but I guess you never go into a sort of profession that you've gone into to make mega bucks. You've gone in there because you care about a person, or the fact that they can see, or there's a passion there about helping people, I guess.
Yeah, and let's be fair to the staff. The staff are on retail salaries, but for most of retail, the training goes something along the lines of, right, you pick up this product, find the barcode, scan it across the scanner, hit total when you've gone through all of the different products, ask for the money, give the right change, and the machine tells you how to do that these days. If you want to learn some of the product, then on quiet times go and have a look at the product range, etc. And I may be dumbing things down, but our staff really do an awful lot more than that. They need to know what is a good fitting frame. They need to know that when you pick up a such and such frame, before you even put it on your face, they're kind of saying that's really not going to suit you. And so they kind of, I know you've done a style consultation in the past. We kind of go through a little bit of that. We try and understand what it is that you love about your current glasses. If you're already wearing glasses, what is it you'd like to improve about them? Find out what activities, what work you do, what your hobbies are, so that we can try and match your eyewear and your eye care to that. And some of that is talking about the need for contact lenses as well. And so it's so much more than just selling a product. And then, that's just the frames. And then you're into the lenses and the different options available and the things that we can do to help improve the vision. Certainly through this summer, the different types of sunglasses and the different types of tints that we can have, but also the different effects. So those that are really going to offer you the best protection and those that are more cosmetic, etc. So there's an awful lot that goes on. In fact, we were talking before we came on air, weren't we? And I was saying that through the summer, people's eyes tend to naturally get a little bit better because the pupils become a little bit smaller, and that kind of masks any changes to their prescription. So their prescription may continue to decline, but a tiny pupil through good bright weather will mask that. So any blur that the eye sees is a smaller blur in essence. Come the winter months, and be prepared, anybody out there who's been thinking their vision's been fairly good through the summer, just be prepared that as the nights start to draw in, you start to drive home in the dark or poor conditions, you may well find that it feels like your vision has suddenly changed, and it isn't. It's continued to decline all through the summer, but then the dark nights come and it becomes more apparent to you. So we generally see an upsurge in the industry. It comes kind of back half of September, October, and into November.
That's something I've learned. Something I can take away from today. So who's the charities that are in 25 and 25 at the moment? So if I go in now, take a sight test, who could I donate towards?
Okay, before we do that, I'll just say that the two that we've just finished which were Blood Bikes and Buddy Bag Foundation, both blew away every other month so far. They got fully engaged with the whole presence on the high street, engaging with our public, etc. And although it was on the surface of things was going to be a quieter month, actually they ended up both with the highest levels of donations from sight tests. Wow. Both around about the £200 mark, just under £200 each, and it was nip and tuck through the whole month, to be quite honest. So they both did really, really well, and two great causes. This month we have got the Worshipful Company of Spectacle Makers charity and an organisation called the Sepsis Trust. So the Worshipful Company of Spectacle Makers is the original, if you like, the original optical body. Believe it or not, nearly 400 years old. So opticians have been around for 400 years. I know when you look at me, I can see in your eye you're thinking, have I been around for nearly all that time?
I was thinking, well, you were founder member, Brad.
Absolutely. Well, just about 350 years I've been around.
Okay.
Feels like it. And so, yeah, opticians have been around for nearly 400 years. It's one of the London City livery companies.
So were people wearing glasses 400 years ago?
Yeah. There was the Worshipful Company of Spectacle Makers was founded in 1629. So
were they sort of doing the same sort of things that you would do in an eye test today? Obviously not necessarily.
Not quite with the same degree of technology, not with the same kind of knowledge that we have, but yes, glasses were being made. In fact,
so presumably they were doing trial and error with different sorts of lenses, that sort of thing.
And in fact, my history is rubbish, but medieval times, that predates 1600s, doesn't it? So medieval times, there have been leather apparatus with holes in the middle being found in sights and things that obviously had been made as a mask that housed two lenses that were obviously being made from glass, and so people were wearing glasses way back. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the second thing I've done. Thank you very much, Brad.
I'm full of useless information.
You are.
So
this is QI on Solihull Radio.
So the worshipful company of spectacle makers these days is there are three categories the three C's as they talk about it as the city. They support London, the city of London, and the power thing with all of that. And in fact, we have an alderman who's just been elected, who's also a spectacle maker, which basically means they're kind of in line to go on, hopefully, to become the Lord Mayor of London. Ooh. So a real kind of Dick Whittington type thing.
Right.
And the Lord Mayor is chosen from a livery company every year. There are the Great 12. There's a huge amount of history. I mean, we've been around nearly 400 years. There have been others that have been around a lot longer than us. And there's some great things. Things like being at 6s and 7s means kind of being out of sorts or mixed about. Well, it's because during the Great Fire, lots of records were lost. Every year it always makes me chuckle, and I have a look at our list of we get a booklet through telling us all of the liverymen that are spectacle makers currently, and at the front there's always a list of the past masters. So you become a master spectacle maker, and incidentally that term is where the term your masterpiece comes from, because you used to serve your apprenticeship, right, anything up to 9 years. And at the end of your apprenticeship, you would present your piece of work to the master to say, am I good enough to be qualified? And that piece was known as your master's piece. That's number 3 for you.
Oh, Brad, this is brilliant. I'll write that down for the pub quiz.
And so then you'd serve your apprenticeship, and at that point, the master would say, yes, it's good enough, or it wasn't. If it was good enough, you became a freeman of the company. If it wasn't, the glasses got smashed on what is still known as London Stone. Still exists. It's hidden away at the minute. We've got a big campaign to try and get it back into the open. But literally, poor glasses used to get smashed on London Stone. Likewise, any opticians falling into disrepute in the city, the master and their court had and their wardens had every right to go into any establishment that wasn't upholding standards and smash the place to smithereens, and break up everything on London Stone, which is a big stone that still exists. Whoa. So the city is one thing, and I was telling you something else, wasn't I? And anyway, I don't know how I got into that one. Oh yeah, 6s and 7s.
That's it. Yeah,
so
6s and 7s.
Being at 6s and 7s, there was a whole bunch of records that got lost during the Great Fire. So much so, there was then an argument that started between the livery company that is at number 6 and the livery company that is number 7, because we are all in order. And ever since, every year, they alternate. And I can't remember which the two are, but one year they're at 6 and one year they're at 7. And because nobody really knows the actual truth, that's where the saying comes from of being at 6s and 7s.
Oh my gosh. I had no idea that you were such a wealth of information, Brad.
Unfortunately, there's no today of all days, there's no A-levels in trivia. Otherwise, I'd have been...
I thought that was general studies. Anyway,
so yes,
what's the link
city.
with you guys?
So worshipful company, it's the city, it's the craft, maintaining standards, and charity. And so we've seen a lot of the great work that they do in fighting visual impairment and working for people with visual impairment over the years in lots of different guises. They've got they support some really fantastic causes that you just never have heard of. And we thought, what a great... both my brother and I are both liverymen. I've sat on the court, as it's called, which is like the board. And so we've had exposure to the great work that they do within the industry. So we wanted to support them. So that's the worshipful company Spectacle Makers. Then there's the Sepsis Trust. Now the Sepsis Trust is a national organisation, a national charity, and at the minute they've got a big campaign running. They've got a storyline, I believe, running on Coronation Street. One of the youngsters there is a sufferer or has the condition sepsis, or sepsisemia as it used to be referred to as, etc. And they are trying to not only get the public to think sepsis, but also to get the medical professionals to be thinking sepsis. And what that means is there's people kind of know that there's this time scale, isn't there, of, if somebody appears to be having a heart attack, getting them into hospital, or somebody has a trauma, getting them into hospital within the golden hour is crucial. Well, with sepsis, it's absolutely crucial. You know, the speedier they can get the right drugs in, the stronger the chance. And if they don't, and it's not recognised, and it's not picked up, and they don't get the right treatment in, then it can be fatal.
It's going down the same route of sort of other awareness campaigns such as meningitis, those sorts of things, of sort of having the glass test and making sure that you respond quickly, or even stroke or things like that.
Absolutely. So it's building awareness inside the industry, inside the professionals, as well as the public. And in fact, we've got 3 members of the team who've been affected in some way, shape or form. I had a meeting with one of our team members' husband, who is a survivor of sepsis. And he was telling me his story, and you know, for his grandson to find him going blue, and the family dealing with that trauma, getting him into hospital, but him being still alive and kicking today, and you know, being a survivor. So it made sense for us again to be supporting, so that we can create more of those stories. Unfortunately, one of our other members of the team has a relative that wasn't a survivor, and so that's just as important, that you know, we are looking to support sepsis. Now, although that's a national charity, I said that before, it's been founded by a Solihullian. It's not only is it a little-known organisation, but it's very little known that Dr. Ron, who heads the whole thing up, as well as doing his day job, has formed, created, founded this organisation that does great work. And he's a Solihullian. He lives local, and I know him kind of socially, and you know, the guy just never switches off 24/7. I think I work hard. This guy kind of knocks the spots off. And the work that they're doing of just getting people to think, could it be sepsis, is absolutely crucial. And in fact, the organisation has they've reduced the amount of negative cases, shall we say, of sepsis by something like 75% in recent years. You know, it's been a massive improvement. And if you like, the Sepsis Trust, which is the national charity, has now overtaken the international sepsis organisation, I believe, as being bigger and stronger and better. So, you know, we're doing some great stuff, and it's another great story of something great coming out of Solihull.
So, thank you very much. So, if you want to support Sepsis UK or the Grand
Worshipful Company of Spectacle Makers.
Thank you, Brad. Get yourself to Specsavers for an eye test this next coming month, and you can support one of those charities.
Absolutely, yep.
And well, not only that, you've been doing a bit of support for. We've both got to know Miss West Midlands, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
Is she your face?
She's
Specsavers or something.
She was just about to fly out to Sri Lanka, and in fact she flew out to Sri Lanka with the Miss England team on the day that we launched the Will I Am range of specs. So we've had the Kylie range, we've had Karl Lagerfeld, we've had a number of big designer names, and we launched this year for the first time the Will I Am range, and it just seemed to be a real neat thing to kind of ask her if she would be the Solihull face of and launch it for us.
Yeah.
And we had that conversation, but she was flying out to Sri Lanka on that day. So don't tell head office, but we gave her a couple of pairs of sunglasses, which we told her that she was not allowed to wear until she landed in Sri Lanka, therefore after the launch. And so she was the face of the Will I Am launch. And then when she came back and we got further chatting, it was obvious that, you know, she ought to be the face of 25 in 25 for us as well. So we're supporting her. We've supported her ball. I mean, she has to support, or she does support two charities: the Beauty with Purpose, which is the Miss England.
That's the national charity
of theirs, and then she had the Sparkle Ball and the Touch of Sparkle Ball that we supported, which is for her charity. So so it made sense, and she's working with us on another little project that's going on in the background, which is highly confidential at the moment.
Shh.
So I can't tell you at this point in time, but very soon we will be able to tell you that we've been nominated for a couple of awards.
Oh, that sounds like good stuff. Okay, well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure chatting to you, and I'll catch you again very, very soon for another update on 25 and 25.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much, Brad.
Thanks very much
Absolute
for inviting
pleasure.
me in.
Thank you.